We bought a $3,000 Rat Rod Jeep, drove it from LA to the Desert Bar in Parker, Arizona, and sold it to these guys for $407. That's Finnegan economics.
On this episode of Roadkill, zero fail.
This time on Roadkill, we go digging for our new project car.
It is the episode of the century. This time on Roadkill, it's a junkyard rescue of our latest project vehicle. We call it Pigpen. This time on Roadkill, it is mini bikes and the muscle truck, and we race them all.
And there aren't any Priuses in this episode.
This time on Roadkill, it is an epic buddy trip to Roadkill Nights.
The very best road trip I've ever taken with my friends.
How do you make a junkyard car run and drive?
With nitrous.
Ah!
This time on Roadkill, it's our 100th episode. This episode of Roadkill, we trade a 600 horsepower Chevy truck for a Volkswagen with a busted door. On the first episode of Roadkill, we let a dart determine our destiny. And now that we're at episode 11 and we're fresh out of ideas, we're gonna do that again. We're gonna drag this to the lake. We're gonna rip the motor out of the truck, put it in the boat, go do some racing, take the motor back out of the boat, put it in the truck, drive all the way back home. It will be just that easy.
Thank you, America! Goals achieved! Oh.
We're out of gas.
You're kidding!
Nope.
We ran out of gas.
The key to the Ronco winning, neutral drops.
Oh.
We took out a perfectly good 383 Mopar big block and put in a Toyota 2JZ turbo motor. This episode of Roadkill, we're gonna rebuild a 68 Charger with used motorhome parts. Yeah!
This time on Roadkill, we're gonna try and rescue a Mach 1 Mustang that's been abandoned for 37 years.
Yeah.
Oh! First try! If you had 24 hours with these two cars, what would you do?
I beat Freiberger driving the Rat Rod the first race. Second race, he kicked the crap out of me once he figured out how to drive the car.
We just bought this Jaguar for $1,000, installed that blower in a parking lot, went drag racing, and cruised it home.
What did you do today?
This time on Roadkill, we are racing the Roadkill garbage at Laguna Seca.
At least they waited till I was done.
This time on Roadkill, we've got a blown big block Chevy in our '69 Impala.
And a Subaru WRX with a couple of friends.
G'day. Hey, mate.
Finally, right? It's happening!
Let's go do some skids.
Special bonus episode of Roadkill with Mighty Carbine. This time on Roadkill, all of this greatness in the back of Stubby Bob.
Yeah, this one's really cool.
Did you say wheelie? Yes! Got it! Yeah!
Yo, what's up? Happy Friday. I never upload on Fridays, but today's a good day to upload because big changes in my life. Some of them flat out suck, I'm not gonna lie, but a lot of them are pretty cool, so it's just kind of a celebration. Let's just do that. And cheers to you, David Freiberger. You're not here, so I'm drinking for both of us, but I am drinking your favorite beer. And let's get right into it. If you guys have heard, or maybe you haven't, Roadkill has been canceled. After 13 seasons, 167 episodes of pretty darn good video or television, or what do you want to call it? We're done. And it's strange to say that out loud because I gotta be honest, part of me was in denial. I expected this to happen. Everything ends, especially in the world of media. But I didn't think it would happen today or this week or this month or whatever. Like I said, we just wrapped our 13th season, and we had a lot of really good things on the horizon. I don't know, as recent as 6 months ago, Freiberger asked me how long did I think I wanted to continue doing this. And in my mind, I was like, another 5-10 years? I mean, the guys at the Grand Tour, which, you know, were the OG guys from Top Gear, I mean, they're the gold standards at this game of automotive entertainment. And I mean, God, what have they been doing it? 30 years, you know? Mighty Car Mods, they're older. They've been on YouTube longer than, you know, Roadkill's been in existence. And those guys, like, it goes Grand Tour, Mighty Car Mods, Cletus McFarland, you know, then probably us, I would suppose, for me. You know, for my money. And so, yeah, it's over. And it's over and it's not. It's weird. It depends on who you talk to. So we will no longer be filming new episodes of Roadkill with David and I. We have finished our season. Not all the episodes have aired. And a lot of the other Motor Trend shows that are produced in-house by the studio are in the same boat. People have been laid off. You know, if they're still in production, those episodes that haven't aired they'll go to Max and Discovery Plus, and then ultimately to the Motor Trend cable channel, and they'll live on there in reruns. So, you know, they're not dead. You know, like they'll be there. But as far as, you know, some of your favorite hosts continuing to do new episodes, for now it looks like no, it isn't happening. Could that change later on? I don't know. The Motor Trend studio, which at first I thought was shutting down because a good portion of the people I know that work there, you know, have either been laid off or getting laid off. I'm told the studio itself is not shutting down. I also heard that the events, Hot Rod Drag Week, Power Tour, Roadkill Nights, I heard all that continues, which is great news. But let's dive into Roadkill. That's the one, obviously, I'm most familiar with. And let's talk about what it means, because you guys have a lot of questions. Like, this has been all over the internet all week long. Which apparently is my fault because I answered a question on Reddit about whether it ended or not, and I said yes, and the next thing I knew, it was everywhere. And so I apologize to anybody out there if I blew up your spot. It wasn't my intention. I thought everybody knew, but apparently not everybody knew. But now the whole world knows. I lost my job. A lot of people lost their jobs, which sucks because it's a month before the holidays, and you know, not everybody has a side hustle, and so a lot of the hosts from those shows that, you know, you're familiar with, that you know and you love, like, you know, Faster with Cotton and Newbern, I think you'll find those people on YouTube if they're not already. And so I'll, in the description of this video, list all the YouTube channels I'm aware of that other hosts that I worked with have. And if anybody out there has a side hustle I'm not aware of that I did work with, you know, if anybody from the Motor Trend group, you know, camera ops, editors, whatever, if I can help in any way, spread the word that, you know, you're ready to work, let me know. Email me, text me, phone call, whatever. I'll amend the description of this video and keep adding to it to help wherever I can. But in the meantime, let's break it down, because I put a post in the community tab of my channel, Finnegan's Garage, asking what people wanted to know, because David Freiberger has his own YouTube channel, released a video explaining, you know, this was the end of Roadkill and some of the other shows on Motor Trend, and he did a really great job of detailing the history of Roadkill, which, you know, we probably don't need to rehash today. At some point, I'll tell you my version of the events, and it's not because they're different than his. My experience was different. You know, my story that led me to ever get the job at Roadkill, I think is pretty interesting. And so we'll talk about that some other day, not today. Today is let's break down what's going on, why it happened, what happened to the cars, and what's next. Because those were the important questions, the ones most people asked on the community tab there. And the first one was, why did it happen? And that is as complicated a question as you could ever ask me. Let me take a sip and I'll tell you why. Okay, why does Roadkill have to end? Well, here's my point of view on the whole thing. Roadkill is owned by Motor Trend. Motor Trend is owned by Warner Brothers Discovery, which is a massive company, huge company. And I'll give you an anecdote that maybe helps you understand where Roadkill fits in that universe. There was this guy that I met when Discovery bought us years ago. And I'm not going to tell you his name because I don't even know if he wants his name out there. But real nice guy. I loved working with him. And one of the first things he said to me when I met him was, hey, I'll tell you what my job is. And basically what it is if you get a DUI and crash a car, get a hooker pregnant, end up in jail, whatever it is, you call me before you call your family. And I about fell out of my chair. And I was like, man, you and I probably won't be speaking much because those are not in my plans, you know, not anywhere close to that. And ultimately, he was joking, I think. But later on, when the company that owns Roadkill was merged or sold again, he called me. And he said, hey, you're not going to hear from me much going forward. And I said, why, dude? Like, you know, are you leaving the company? You get fired? You know, did you get a hooker pregnant? What'd you do, brother? And he goes, no, nothing like that. He said, you know, after this merger, you know, we're in the movie business now. And I said, okay. And he's like, yeah. He's like, I work with people like Ben Affleck now. And I went, oh, got it. Right. There's levels to this, obviously. I wasn't even offended. I was like, got it. There's Roadkill, and then there's movies, real movies. And so I was actually stoked for him. I'm like, dude, you're going to meet some really talented artistic people, and you're going to get to work in a completely different world than this greaseball car show that I make. And so it was at that moment when I went, okay, if Roadkill is now owned by a company that makes motion picture movies, you know, on the big screen, either they're never going to know we exist or they're going to find out we exist, and that's probably not going to end well for us. And I don't think what a lot of people understand about Roadkill is that when it was created by two people, David Freiberger and I, who were journalists at a company, and that company owned everything we photographed and wrote. It was part of your employment contract. You know, you're out there with our equipment, you're making stuff with our stuff, and we own it, you know. And so we had gone out with company equipment and company employees and filmed some road trip videos and put them on the Hot Rod YouTube channel. And a guy named Angus McKenzie saw it and was really sharp. And even though it was wildly different what we were doing than what he was used to seeing on YouTube, he said, keep doing it. And so Roadkill was born inside of a corporate environment, even though it didn't feel that way. It was always owned by a company. David and I never owned it. And because of that, we had zero control over it. Whether it made money, whether it lost money, where it was distributed, it was not ours. And so it is not surprising that after 13 years and it being part of multiple company sales, that at some point, someone somewhere just pulled the plug on it. And I don't even know who that is. I don't even know who to call. I don't know who to ask. It doesn't matter. It's one of those things where it's like, you know, it's gone. There's nothing we can do about it. And so, you know, there's a lesson there, obviously. And if I could do it all again, I'd go back in time and I would be like, hey, you know, this Roadkill thing is not a television show. It is not something with a script and writers. It's not something where you're giving me the ideas. I'm showing up to work and you're telling me this is where you're going to stand and this is what you're going to do and all that. It's not that. It was always David and I dreaming up things we could do with cars and sharing it with you guys. And so, with that said, from the beginning, we should have done something to gain some control over the show. And I wasn't smart enough or brave enough to do that. And so, not even talking from a money standpoint. You know, I'm talking about sharing in the profits of the show. I'm just talking about having some say in where it went. You know, whether it ended up behind a paywall or got sold multiple times and ultimately canceled. I mean, it got canceled and I couldn't tell you why. My assumption is it doesn't make enough money for this company to even notice or care, you know. I don't know. It's just, it's one of those things. It's a victim of corporate whatever. And, you know, that sucks on so many levels for you guys, if you like it. For me, because it's a very personal thing. You know, it's been 13 years of my life. It feels like you were dating your dream girl in high school and the day after graduation, she ghosted you. And you don't know how to get a hold of her and there's nothing you can do. It's just over. And you don't even know why she left, you know. That's kind of what it feels like. Yeah. So I'm drinking. I'm drinking because I'm bummed, but I'm also drinking because I'm kind of celebrating. This is still not necessarily all bad, and I'll tell you why. The next question people had was, what's going to happen to all of the cars? There is a warehouse in California full of project cars from every show. I mean, all of them. Even the ones that got canceled years ago, there are cars in there. But all of your favorite Roadkill cars are sitting in there. And what I've been told, and I'm so excited about this, is that all of the cars that were built by hosts on shows, the hosts will have access to those to try to buy them, which is huge. Because who better to be the caretaker of those cars than the people that dreamed of them in the first place? That imagined them, that engineered them, that sweated and toiled over them. And then that drove them for you guys, you know, on camera. And so I'm psyched because it's not like I need more junk cars in my life. But I'm so attached to these things. Like, I'm so nostalgic for some of these cars from Roadkill. And the Faster show. Like, that Pinto station wagon, Greta. I've become great friends with Federico Sharifo, who we raced his Ferrari drift car against my Pinto station wagon, or Motor Trend's Pinto station wagon. Because of that car and that episode, I made a fantastic friend that I love spending time with, and who I get to say all the time, hey, yeah, Ferrari's cool, but it lost to a damn Pinto, you know, just saying. So I would love to have Greta. There's one. I would love to have the vet cart. I'm super nostalgic for that thing for a lot of reasons. Reason number one is when David Freiberger hired me at Hot Rod back in 2009, one of the very first things he asked me to do while I worked there was to get together with Chad Reynolds, who owned that car originally, and go to my little shop in Orange, California, and replumb and rewire that car so that no matter what we cut off of it, it would still run and drive, so that we could go to a road course and find out what happens to a C4 Corvette when you turn it into a go-kart. And that was to mimic a story that ran in Hot Rod years ago. I think it was Hot Rod. And it was called Caddy Hack, where they took a big-ass Cadillac, went to the drag strip, cut it apart to see how fast it would go. And so the vet kart was born in my little shop in Orange, California. And later on, James Smith tried to teach Freiberger and I to drive that thing on two wheels. And so I have, poorly attempted that. And I have been upside down with Freiberger, sliding across the pavement in that car. The driver's side top corner of the roll cage is smashed in and ground flat from us sliding in that car. We've driven it in sand dunes. I've road raced it, I've autocrossed it, I've jumped it. Here in my garage here in Georgia, Cotton and Newbern and I long traveled it. I just have a lot of history with that thing, and I don't want to see it disappear. So I would love to have that one. Probably the most important one to me is the Rotson, for a lot of reasons. Reason number one was when I was in high school, my best friend Shane Strom built a 71 240Z. And when we graduated high school, I bought it from him, and I loved it. It was a beautiful blue, just lowered, awesome L28 powered 240Z. And it actually got stolen from me right after I bought it. I was bagging groceries in Diamond Bar, California, and while I was inside, someone stole the car out of the parking lot. And I went out into the parking lot, couldn't find my car, thought I couldn't remember where I parked it, so I walked around in circles for like 20 minutes before it dawned on me, no, this thing's gone. Somebody stole my Datsun. My Z car's gone. And so years later, when we started Roadkill, I said to Freiberger, I'm like, I've always wanted one of these. Can we build a Datsun? And if I remember correctly, he's not necessarily a Datsun guy. He likes cars a lot, everything. But he wasn't out there looking for the world's rustiest Datsun. Not like I was. And at the time, I couldn't even afford it. But I talked him into spending some of the budget, which was only $600, to buy that car from Darren Moylan and Matt Ringer. And that's how that's how Motor Trend ended up buying the Rotson. And that was the first car I ever made a turbo kit for in my little shop in Santa Ana, my second shop. And I've had so many great memories of that thing failing with me behind the wheel that I just love it. And like the full circle moment, and one of the big reasons I want that car is recently the original Hemi that Freiberger traded to me to Power Blasphemy. I traded him an all aluminum Chevrolet Performance V6 engine, and he never did anything with it. And last year, the year before, I forget which, I rebuilt Hemi's original Blasphemy, gave it to Freiberger to put in his Hemi Gremmy, and he gave me back that V6. And so in my mind, the ultimate version of the Rotson was the first version when I turboed it and it had the hater pipe coming out of the hood and it had the V6 and KJ's turbo. That was the best incarnation of that car. It wasn't the most reliable because it was a stock motor, but I loved the layout of it. I loved the way it looked. I loved the hater pipe with the flapper valve. It was dope. I would love to get that car, get that motor and put it in that car. That motor's been sitting with James Bostic for like 2 years now, machined, ready to assemble. I just haven't had a project car for it. And so I would love to get that car and put that motor in it. And then the last one is one that I don't necessarily need to own, but I don't want it to disappear, and I feel like there's some missed opportunity there, and that is Stubby Bob. Stubby Bob is important to me for a lot of reasons. The first one was that was the first vehicle where Freiberger didn't know what we were doing. The producers, and I think it was Julia Sear at the time, trusted me to spend, I think, $2,200 of the company money and buy this thing from a farmer in Tennessee. And then we got it here to my house in Georgia, and Freiberger and I cut it in half, shortened it, and turned it into Stubby Bob. And so a fun story about that truck is it sat in my driveway for a long time before Motor Trend shipped it back to California. And while it was sitting in my driveway, a Roadkill fan drove down the street because he figured out where I lived, was so startled to see Stubby Bob there that he ran over my neighbor's mailbox by accident because he wasn't paying attention. So anyway, recently you've seen that thing in 2 different episodes of Roadkill where we revamped it. And as usual, it's unreliable. It only wants to wheelie once or twice before it destroys everything. And the thing about that is, except for on camera, no one has seen it wheelie in public. Kids have not seen the Hot Wheels car do this in real life. And I feel like that is such a shame. I feel like it needs to happen. If someone else is willing to do it in the Motor Trend family, great, good on you. But if nobody else will do it, I'll jump on the grenade. I'll put it in my warehouse. I'll find a way to at least patch it together where on one day, at some point on a hot summer night, we can do that in front of fans for you guys, so you can see Stubby Bob in real life do what it's always done, you know, briefly. And so, yeah, that's another one. I've talked to Freiberger a lot lately. Ever since we got laid off, we've actually talked more now than we did when we worked together. And I know there's cars he wants. I'll let him tell you about those. And I'm sure the other hosts from all these other shows would love to have some of those cars that they put their soul into, you know. And so I'm stoked about that. The last question everybody had was, what's next? And that's the easy one. That is absolutely the easy one. In 2016, when Roadkill moved from YouTube to the streaming service, I was at a weird point in my life where I wasn't doing Hot Rod Garage. I'd kind of settled in Georgia, and I had a little more time than I had in years. And I launched a YouTube channel, I think the same week, or maybe the week after Roadkill moved off of YouTube. And I have busted my ass to keep this channel going the whole time I was on Roadkill, because to be honest, this was my fallback plan. Like I said, Roadkill was never mine. It was never David's. Someone else has always owned it. The lights could have been turned off at any moment. And so I bought this house and built this YouTube channel here, hoping that one day it would support me, and if Roadkill ever ends. And so that day has come. For me, the Roadkill experience, is over. We're not making new episodes. And so the great thing about that is, this girlfriend won't ghost me, and I get to wake up tomorrow and go, well, what do I feel like doing? That's what we're going to do. And what I feel like doing is some of the same, wrenching on my project vehicles here for you guys, but also now that I don't have Roadkill as an outlet for all the ideas I have, I got to be honest, every night of my life, I wake up in the middle of the night and I'm like, whoa, what if I did this with a car? And those ideas always went to Roadkill. Everything, wheelies and leaf blowers and, off-roading and just all that stuff. Those were Roadkill episodes, and now I don't have that outlet. So we'll do that here. The channel already exists. We got GoPros, and I got an iPhone. We'll go do it. Will it ever be as good as Roadkill? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. The great thing now is that Freiberger is in the same boat I am. We can hang out. Before this, we couldn't. He couldn't be on my channel. I couldn't be on his. We can do that. And all the other hosts. David Newbern lives an hour from me. He's got a YouTube channel. So my plan is to collaborate with as many people as I can and do as much as I can and go bigger than I ever have before. And a great example of that is this Sunday, 2 days from now, I'm about to drop a 2-part movie about Hot Rod Drag Week with Tony Angelo. And it is the best content I've ever made for this channel. It's outstanding. James Souter, Ryan Crossley, Chris Reed, dudes that filmed Roadkill all these years, or Faster with Finnegan, they all worked on it with me. They all came to Drag Week, and we filmed so much footage, not just about Tony and I, but about other people racing in our class, and we made a movie. The movie is bananas. Fletcher from the punk band Pennywise gave us permission to use their music for the soundtrack. It's so cool. I haven't been this excited about anything in so long. And the reality of that, though, is it is the most expensive thing I've ever done in my life. It is the biggest investment I've ever made in this YouTube channel. And I can't do that every time. I can't do that every upload. I can do it more often, though, if you help, and here's the plug. It is hard to make a living on YouTube, especially doing cars. The cars are expensive. The parts are expensive. The YouTube platform is really unpredictable in terms of how much you're going to get paid every month. And trust me, Hemis aren't cheap. You blow one up, you're not making that this month on YouTube. And so I need your help. And I don't want anything for free. I don't want sympathy that I lost my job. All I'm asking for is when we drop new merch, tell your friends, tell your family, buy the new merch, because that new merch is what I'm going to use to make content like what you're going to see on Sunday. And so at the end of this video, I have a teaser for Sunday's video. It's only 2 days away, but the teaser's dope. I want you to see it. In the meantime, let's just say thanks, you know? Like, this is, like I said, these are strange days. I've never been excited about losing a job, and I'm not excited, you know, about the fact that I lost the job, but I am excited for the future. I could have made this video 3 days ago, but I got to be honest, I was crying. I couldn't make this video. Today, I can make this video. And so I want to thank everyone that has ever watched Roadkill. I want to thank everyone that ever followed us along on the Glimpse app way back in the day when we were just a little dot on a screen going across I-10 to who knows where, and you guys pointing out we were speeding. I want to thank everyone that ever jumped in the comments section on YouTube and typed ROADKILL over and over again, you know. Anyone that came to Roadkill Nights, Roadkill Zip Tie Drags, Roadkill Takes America, that bought a t-shirt that said I flocked to beaters. Jenny Teague, Roadkill fan, made the original Roadkill merch. I want to thank them. I want to thank Motor Trend, you know. Some of you are going to be real pissed that shows got canceled, but the truth is they never would have existed without the company that owns Motor Trend or that studio. I want to thank David Freiberger for hiring me a hot rod, and Steve Brule for telling David Freiberger for hiring me a hot rod. A lot of people don't know this. Steve Brule is one of my best friends in the whole world. He's like a dad to me. Steve Brule stood at the altar next to me when I got married to my wife. I've known him forever, and he convinced Freiberger to hire me. And Freiberger didn't have to hire me. I'm not the most qualified guy, not the best writer. I'm a pretty mediocre photographer, but thank God he did, because look what happened. And so I have had the privilege of working with and learning from people like David and Brule and Steve Dulcich and, you know, just legends, absolute legends. And I want to thank Taylor Pinson, our producer, Dustin Gould, our showrunner, Brad Alicia, who's directed more episodes of Roadkill than anybody. I don't want to miss anybody. Hold on. Let me do something. I have my laptop. There's a website called IMDb, and if you've never been on it, it's the Internet Movie Database. And the great thing about it is if you type in Roadkill or any other movie or TV show that you like, it will tell you everything you want to know about that. Stuff like when it started airing, 2012, and when it ended, 2024. This was actually a clue for me that it was going to end this year, because it had an end date way before I was ever told it was ending. But check this out. This is amazing stuff, because it will tell you how many episodes. It will tell you pretty much every person that ever appeared on it, whether they were in the cast of the show or not. And so let me read some of these names for you. You know, Freiberger and Finnegan, obviously, Dulcich, Tony Angelo, David Newburn, Lucky Costa, because he was here. Alana Shore. Alana Shore edited Roadkill magazine. We had a magazine, and Alana not only edited the magazine, but I worked with her at Hot Rod magazine, and I love her vibe. I love her zest for life. I love the amount of knowledge she has about offbeat cars, and it's just fun to be around her. Rick Payway's on here. Rick Payway owned the '66 Buick Special Convertible that was in the backyard that Freiberger and I rescued before Roadkill existed, and the car that we drove in the 100th episode when we dropped the dart from the helicopter onto the map and missed. That was his car. Dave Chappelle is in here. Here's a story about Dave Chappelle. My little Toyota mini truck used to be Dave Chappelle's mini truck, way before both of us ever worked here. We were just mini truckers in Southern California. Michael Wayne Cotton, I've known him for 20 years. Fred Williams. Fred Williams is the least competitive dude I've ever met in my life, but one of the funniest, which is an awesome combo on camera when you've got two super competitive nerds like Freiberger and I trying to have a competition, you know. Carlos Lago and Johnny Lieberman. The perfect foils for Freiberger and I when you have a cheap car shootout at Santa Anita Racetrack. Those dudes were hilarious. Jim Meyer's on here. Jim Meyer owned the company, Jim Meyer Racing, that made the chassis sitting under blasphemy. That's been there for 10 years. Longer, no. 11, 12, Jesus, I don't know. Randy Popes is on here. I learned so much about driving cars from Randy. Josh Lucas. Okay, so this one's random, right? Again, it lists everyone that's ever been on here. Josh Lucas built the roll cage in the Rotson and was behind the wheel when we were push starting it at the 24 Hours of Lemons race and didn't know the crankshaft had broken half. We were trying to push start this dude onto a racetrack so that he could turn a lap in the car because he hadn't even gotten to drive it, and the crankshaft was broken half. We just didn't know it. So, long story short, he never drove it. Mike Copeland, his shop, Diversified Creations, Hellscat swapped General Mayhem back in the day. All right, full cast and crew. Let's go through this. Here are people who have directed Roadkill. Brad Alicia, 84 episodes. Over half the episodes this dude was in charge of. Dustin Gould, who's now our showrunner, directed 43 episodes. Levi Rugg, Travis LaBella, Christopher Reed, Edwin Collins, Alex Scola directed one. Travis LaBella directed some of the original episodes, the ones in the very beginning, the very down and dirty stuff where, you know, we were staying in motels with bloodstains on the wall. And that dude was a machine because he was manning the camera out the window of the van, then would get, you know, pull the camera back in, get on his BlackBerry, try to book us a hotel room ahead of the direction we were going, only for us to fail to get there, and he'd have to cancel it and rebook it and book another one somewhere else. And this was all before Orbitz and Travelocity. It was a pain in the ass on a BlackBerry for that dude to book hotel rooms. And we ran him ragged, and dude, he crushed it. Let's see. I'm scrolling down IMDb. Series writing credits. We never had any writers, not once. Like if you ever wondered, is this stuff real? 100% real. There were no writers. There was no script ever. I think what they mean are these are the hosts because it's Newbern, Freiberger, me, Dulcich, Lucky, Tony. But let's scroll through some more stuff. Here's other people that have been on the show. Let's see. KJ Jones. Hater number one. Not really. I love him. KJ, you are the best. I love it every time we see each other. I love that we have a Ford Turbo on a, well, right now a Ford motor in a Datsun. Brian Fuller. God, Brian Fuller is on Ride of Your Life and another Motor Trend show. And before that, he was on Overhauling. Like he's been hell of a car builder right here near me in Atlanta. Daniel Boshears, Mike Musto. Mike Musto is on Hemmings with House of Muscle. He's been on this. Patrick Smith, Jeff Davey. Jeff Davey owns Devious Customs out in Riverside, California. Good friend of mine, was on multiple episodes of this. Timothy Fuller, Brian Gillespie, Crumb Packer family. So that's the weird thing, not weird, but that's the cool thing about IMDb is it's going to tell you almost every person that was ever on screen and what episode. And I don't have time to find out what episode they were to figure out who they are because I don't remember, but it's there. This is a great one. Marty and then Moog. No last names, because why would you need that? You're Mighty Car Mods. You don't need a last name, but they're in here. Jacob Davis, Vince Lanza. Oh my God, I'm so glad I read this. So Vince Lanza was the guy in the headshot, you know, the glamour shot that we found inside of the missing link during the episode where we had the waffle fight with the crew and, you know, we did the road rally for 24 Hours of Lemons. If I had not read that just now, I wouldn't have been able to put all that together, but thank you, IMDb. Let's see, who else? Jethro Bovington, Stephen Yane, James Smith. James Smith tried to teach us to drive on two wheels in the vet cart, only at the end to tell us, yeah, you don't want a low center of gravity vehicle like the death cart to try to drive on two wheels. You want a minivan or something tall. So that was never going to work. He just waited till the end to tell us that, which is funny. Leah Pritchett. Dude, epic driver, top fuel racer, married to Tony Stewart, just had a baby. Congratulations. She was on Roadkill. She did the episode where we were in the junkyard and we got to the Isuzu Rodeos and we welded them together to do spinning axis donuts and we pulled it off. She was on that one. Let's see, Alex Taylor, who ultimately went on to do Hot Rod Garage after Tony Angelo left. Doug Glad, Brian Van Zant, Terry McGeehan, Shay Seafelt. Shay Seafelt, geographically speaking, is perfect for the future because he is on my way home from Arizona where my limo truck is at, and he has a dyno and a shop, and I have naughty ideas of things I want to do with that truck. So at some point, Shay, I'm calling you, and we're going to do some stuff together, you know, if you're down. Chris Birdsong, who can do anything with a Mopar on the side of his house in Vegas. Guy's a legend. Series produced by Dustin Gould, David Freiberger, Mike Suggett, Brett Adkins, Taylor Pinson, Cole Kerrigan, Natalie Lucasini, Levi Rugg, Amanda Hayden, David Lee, Matt Frank, Roger Henry, Gabriel Van Husk, Kristen Curtin, miss you, Siddharth Ganji, Dwayne Simpson, haven't seen him in years, hell of a guy. Bart Bidlingmeyer, Stephanie Vartanian, Julia Smart, Mary-Kate Fitzpatrick, Jennifer Wincoop, Julia Sear. Julia Smart and Julia Sear are the same person because Julia married John Smart, one of our camera ops. Travis LaBella, Angus McKenzie. Angus McKenzie single-handedly responsible for putting Roadkill out. You know, he was the head of Motor Trend at the time, and he saw what we were doing on the Hot Rod YouTube channel and said, figure out a name and go to work. And, you know, if he hadn't done that, we probably wouldn't have done it. I don't know. Brenna De Guzman, Liz, I miss you. Hope you're doing well. Jerry Pitt, I love Jerry Pitt. I don't know what official title he had when I was there and he was there, but he was our biggest cheerleader. Doug Evans, Jerry Pitt, biggest cheerleaders ever for Roadkill at the time when we all worked for the magazine company. Clint Stringfellow edited a ton of Roadkill episodes, and he's really good at making stuff that's maybe not too funny into really funny through his editing. Thank you. Nolan Hayner, Bobby Akins, Sophie Benhemu, Mark Lenarden. Mark Lenarden is no longer with us, which bums me out because he was one of my favorite people to work with and just be around. He produced, he directed, he camera opped, and a lot of people don't know this, but one night at like 2 in the morning when I was sleeping and just dead, he taped off the bottom half of my car when it was on a lift in the Motor Trend studio and painted the bottom of my thing flat black so that it wouldn't rust. And every time I'm under this car and I look up and see that it's not rusting, I think of you, Mark Lenarden, and I miss you. Cynthia Hogan, Chanel Washington, Kelly Barnard, Declan Fox, Faye Robles. Faye, I miss your smile and your laugh and your face. She camera opped on Roadkill. The one that sticks out is probably the General Mayhem episode, and I don't know, she just made me happy, which is great because you can't be happy every day. Sometimes you need other people. Chad Simcox, Mike Flores, David Rivera, Brandon Stevenson, Brent Baer, Andy Jurgensen, Ron James. Ron James was a camera op in the very early days of Roadkill, and he went on to, I don't know if he invented it or marketed it, but he brought out to the world the Ronzo, which was a tiny battery stick that you could use to, you know, recharge your BlackBerry or iPhone when your battery went dead. And I gotta tell you what, not all of them caught on fire in my backpack, Ron, so good on you. Let's see. Scott Skinny Pants Moon, Julia Sanchez, John Smart, Luis Navarro. Luis Navarro was a producer on Roadkill. Not a lot of episodes, but I loved his vibe, and that he gave me my first ever shot of Bullet Bourbon. So thank you, Luis. Seth Harden, Travis LaBella. There's a lot of people. This is how big the show was, all right? These are all the people that edited it over the years. And I don't mean like this show was so big, there was an army of people in a room all at once editing just little pieces of it. In general, one person would edit the entire episode of Roadkill. So this is all the people that did it. 167 episodes, 13 years, it took this many people. Mauricio Zanato did 87 of them, more than anyone. Clint Stringfellow did 26. Mark Leslie, Travis LaBella, Dustin Gould. So you see a lot of these names in there more than once because In the beginning of Roadkill, we'd hit the road with 2 camera people. When we got back, one of those camera ops would stay behind at the office, edit that episode, then we'd go out and film another one with a 3rd camera op. And when we got back, they'd cycle out again. And so that's how small of a production it was in the beginning, and how those early episodes are so raw. Because there's not a crafty table with a bunch of people. There's not a bunch of people standing around on set. It's literally just 2 guys and some tools and a couple of people behind a camera and maybe a director or producer making all of that thing happen. And that thing turned into, events and merch and websites and a magazine and a banner from the ground to the roof of the convention center in Vegas at SEMA with Roadkill on the side of it, and shutting down Woodward Avenue. And it's just been, the ride has been bananas. I'm not going to read all of these because there's so many, but if you ever get the chance and you're curious, look up Roadkill on IMDb and you can see the actual people that made this happen. Wow. All right. I'll leave you with this. 2 things. This is not the end. Great things are going to happen with all those people that you know and love from your favorite TV shows that got canceled, that you all heard about this week. This is why Roadkill worked. Take a swig and I'll tell you. Roadkill worked because of a very specific set of circumstances in which it was created. We had full-time jobs working for a magazine. We had very little money to make it happen, almost no time, and it was as real as you're ever gonna get on a TV show about cars. Genuinely. What you saw was what was happening. And yeah, we didn't make it to Alaska the first time, but we damn sure made it the second time. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for 13 years. And now, check out this teaser for Sunday's movie. I'm so psyched on this. I'll see you around. It's my turn.